Hey everybody, Sam Amico, HoopsWire live on 330 to go. How are you? Yes, it's August 16th, and we're talking a little bit of NBA basketball. Once again, thanks so much for joining. There is some actual NBA news. The schedule was released on Thursday. I've been covering the NBA a long time, as I've said many times on this show. That seemed to me to be the least promoted, played up NBA schedule release ever, which I'm just fine with because guess what? We already know that in the NBA you play 82 games, you play everybody twice at least. Um, Really, it's just a matter of, for guys who cover the NBA or girls, you figure out what your schedule is going to look like, kind of, if it's your job. And if you're the Cavs, you kind of get a gauge of, here's where we're going, when we're going there. And for the Cavs, it all starts, I believe, October 23rd. I got it on my phone right here. They visit Toronto, October 23rd. And then guess what? Of course, the Cavs play on the road to open the season. Seems like the NBA does that to them every year. I wrote a Cavs schedule breakdown, by the way, on hoopswire.com, kind of the stretches and games and stuff like that I think are key. We won't spend a lot of time on that here because, again, it's just a schedule. It's a regular season schedule. It's released every year. The things that I think are cool about it, I'll mention those real fast. Obviously, open the season in Toronto. And then you play the home opener October 25th, which is a Friday night, which is the return of JB Bickerstaff to Cleveland. So they're getting that out of the way real fast. His first stop back in Cleveland. Probably my favorite NBA coach I've ever covered. I've talked about that here before. I fully intend to go see JB before the season in Detroit, pay a visit there, catch up with him, and see how he feels about things in Detroit. I'm not going to ask him too much about the Cavs. I don't do a lot of, hey, let's reflect on your time here, but what's the future hold? What's the now and the future hold? I'm not one of those guys. And I will write some pieces, obviously, on, the 90s Cavs or the 80s Cavs. But when it comes to guys who are still in the NBA, I don't really ask them to reflect much on things in the past because they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about what's going on now and what's going to happen in the future. And certainly JB Bickerstaff is there. And I'm positive that he has that date circled. You can't help but have that date circled, October 25th, when the Pistons come back to Cleveland. Does he get a tribute video? 5.5 years for the Cavs. That's how long JB Bickerstaff was the coach. That's a long time in today's NBA. I mean, you're talking Greg Popovich, who, has been with the Spurs for, 25 years now, at least. The head coach. Eric Spoelstra's been there a while, been with the Heat for was it 2010, 11 when LeBron and Chris Bosh got there? So he's probably second in line, but 5.5 years with an NBA head coach, with the same coach, that's a long time. So JB Bickerstaff certainly will, believe it or not, be one of the Cavs coaches that goes down in Cavaliers lore. And I think he's a great fit with the Pistons. So he'll be back October 25th. I don't know. What else did I talk about? Oh, fifth game of the year for the Cavs. LeBron James makes his return, like for the 111th time. But I will say this. So that is actually on October 30th. LeBron returns. The Lakers pay their lone visit to Cleveland, the fifth game of the season for the Cavs. It's always a big deal. It's not as big of a deal as it used to be. As I put on the website, the Cavs should win that game. They're a better team than the Lakers. And they shouldn't, they've swept LeBron now in the past, a couple years ago. They've been swept. I don't think that's a big thing, but you want to beat LeBron. if you're the Cavs, to show them that, yes, we've advanced since you. And the Cavs are definitely a better team than the Lakers, without question. Top 7, 8 guys. Obviously, Lakers have LeBron and Davis. Cavs are better. And I think LeBron has been amazing at his age, but I'd rather have Donovan Mitchell at this stage. So the Cavs need to prove me right by winning that game against the Lakers at home. If you lose, it's no big deal because it's game number 5. The other one that I thought, obviously, the NBA Cup. A lot of teams or a lot of fans don't care about that NBA Cup. A lot of teams don't care. I can tell you that, covering the league. Last year, the only thing I think that's good about it is they went from calling it the in-season tournament to the NBA Cup because it fits better in a headline on HoopsWire. It's 3 letters. In-season tournament. I hated writing that in headlines. And it's really all about me. At this point, as long as I've been around, the NBA should focus everything and center everything around Amico. By the way, got a new t-shirt, which I hoped would show up here. I'll flash it in a second. Last name is Amico, as you probably know and are tired of hearing. But look, I got a t-shirt. You'll see the Amigos, but you also see the little ABA logo there. The Anaheim Amigos. I found this t-shirt, I think it was $4. So yeah, I encourage you all to go online. Streaker Sports is where I ordered it from. They are not an advertiser or any of that, but they have all kinds of cool old school and ABA stuff, old school NBA, I think old school NFL and hockey or whatever else you're into. So that's where I got the t-shirt. And I think it's awesome. I wish it said Amigos, but one of my kids was like, "Dad, that's not our last name." I was like, "I know, I just think it's cool." And I wore it last night to the Hootie and the Blowfish concert, which I enjoyed more than I thought I would going in. I thought it was a great show. And I'm wearing it again today, and I'll probably wear it all weekend. That's something else my kids get on me for. If I find something that I like, I'll wear it out. So anyway, with that note, and by the way, speaking of the old ABA, that's what today's NBA is. Lots of 3-pointers, lots of sizzle. I wish the NBA would use a colored basketball, like the old red, white, and blue basketball, or the FIBA basketball. I think the NBA basketball is, it's what basketballs are supposed to look like, but I think you could really market that. Maybe I'd be better at marketing NBA stuff than running HoopsWire. Who knows? Maybe talk to the other people who work at HoopsWire. So anyway, the Cavs play the Celtics in the NBA Cup. That starts on November 19th. They go to Boston. That doesn't seem to be fair. You got to go play the NBA Cup against the defending champs, team that eliminated you from the playoffs. Whatever. Go into Boston and win that game. And then, of course, what I have next is West for the holidays. Cavaliers do their first West Coast trip. And listen to this. At Denver, December 27th. 2 days after Christmas. You go to face the Nuggets. Then the Golden State Warriors on December 30th. Then your last visit against the Lakers on New Year's Eve, December 31st, the day after LeBron James turns 40 years old. So hopefully he'll be full of birthday cake and ice cream and too worn out to play well on the day that the Cavs go play the Lakers. So that's kind of the schedule highlights. I have, again, you can check it out on HoopsWire. I've got a few more in there, other highlights that really aren't going to excite a lot of people, probably, because it's just an NBA schedule. And guess what? Our Cleveland Browns are getting ready to start soon. For those of you who root for the Ohio State Buckeyes, which I do as well, They start in a few weeks. For those of you who root for the Akron Zips, as I do wholeheartedly, they also start in a few weeks. Almost 2 weeks from today, a little more than 2 weeks from today, um, the Akron Zips open the season at Ohio State. And I don't know if I said this on last week's show, but I'm going to just wear my Akron hat, my Akron t-shirt, and go to, like, I don't know, a random restaurant or sports bar where the game is on and sit in the sea of Ohio State red with all my Akron gear on. And you know what my oldest boy said to me? Dad, they're not even going to bother heckling you. They're not even going to care. And I think he's probably right about that. But I want Ohio State to win. The great thing about Ohio State to me is, and I won't go off on this too long because I know we're here to talk about the Cavs. They could go like 7-5, and the committee's still going to make sure they make this 12-team playoff. I don't want them to go 7-5, but they could. The committee could put, because now it's like with 12 teams in the playoffs, Ohio State and Alabama are going every year because that's just the committee wants them in. In fact, if Ohio State finished 7-5 and went 12, the committee would probably be like, you know what? We've decided, because 12 plays 5 in this college football playoffs, the committee would probably be like, we've decided Robert Morris is number 5. They went 9-3, so we're going to move them in there because they want Ohio State to, do well. That's not to say that they get, favoritism during actual matchups, because they don't. But I feel I think Ohio State's got a great shot to they're going to be in that playoff. The key is, are they going to beat Michigan? And they should this season. So there's my college football take. Go Zips, go Flashes, and third, go Buckeyes. As far as the Cavs, yeah, we're getting a little bit closer to training camp, a little bit. As I read on the website, thank heavens we have some time off from that. There's not much focus on that. I do know, it looks like Isaac Okoro, he's the big question mark. I do know that, it's sounding more and more like he's just going to take the qualifying offer from the Cavs, return, enter free agency again next year, but next year he'd be an unrestricted free agent if he picks up that qualifying offer. That's his best bet. There's not a lot out there for him. There is some interest. The Lakers are one team that's interested. The Clippers, we've been over this, the Pistons, but not enough interest right now for those teams to really, really pursue him with a strong sign and trade deal. There's one thing to be interested. There's another thing to say, yeah, we're going to give up people to go get him. I've heard Sacramento recently, look, if you're an NBA team, you've got interest in Isaac Okoro. It doesn't matter who you are. He does a lot of the little things very well. So I think that there's potential that he could get moved, but I think more than anything, he'll pick up that qualifying offer and return. And, he's going to have to earn his minutes. It's really going to be a training camp battle between him and Jalen Tyson. Even though they're not the same player, they're the same size and they both play on the wing. And one of those two is, if Okoro returns, one of those two is not getting very many minutes. I'm going to lean towards Jalen Tyson being the guy who's not getting many minutes because he's a rookie. And, look, you're going to have Karis LeVert. Obviously, you're going to have Mitchell and Garland, and they're going to play a ton of minutes if they're healthy. You got Craig Porter Jr. back there. He's going to play a ton of minutes. The Cavs are going to sign another backcourt player, a veteran player of some sort, before the regular season starts. Maybe before training camp, which I believe is October 1st. If I had to guess, this is just a guess, but media day will be September 30th because I believe that falls on a Monday. So they always have media day on the Monday, and then training camp's the next day, which would be October 1st. Monday would be September 30th. So the Cavs, I believe, are going to sign another player, another veteran backcourt player. Not going to be anybody splashy. And it may not be right. It might not be before training camp, but they know they need, with injuries the way they are in today's NBA, you can't go to bat with just Donovan Mitchell, um, Craig Porter Jr., Darius Garland, Sam Merrill, and Ty Jerome. Maybe they're holding out hope that he will be their primary veteran type backcourt backup. So, he missed all last season with what I would say in my many years covering the NBA was the most mysterious kept secret injury that I've ever. I mean, why would I always thought, why don't the Cavs just tell us what's happened to Ty Jerome? Because nobody's game planning for him. I mean, no offense to Ty Jerome, but no, the other teams aren't. Hey, they got Ty Jerome. Okay, everything's changing. We've got to replan our entire strategy going into this regular season game against the Cavs because Ty Jerome might play. Just tell us what's wrong. Tell your fans what's wrong with Ty Jerome, what's going on. Fans ask me, get mad at me because I don't know. There's a reason we don't know. Just tell your fans. If you're the Cavs, you're the fourth team in town. Number one in my heart, but fourth in town, in most fans' heart. Browns blow everybody else out of the water. Ohio State football, probably second or third in Cleveland. If they're not second, they're third. Second would be the Guardians. Cavs are fourth. So tell your fans what's going on. Keep yourself in the news. Be open and honest. Don't hide Ty Jerome injuries. Now, I know there's some legal things that they've got to be careful about. Just ask Ty Jerome, what do you want us to say your injury is? So we can report it to the fans who buy merchandise and tickets and want to know what's going on with a guy who was supposed to be our primary backup in the backcourt. Okay, I'm not mad anymore. Have some coffee and calm down. Anyway, Cavs are running it back. Could they, look, I think they're going to sign a backcourt veteran guy, even with Ty Jerome returning. Sign somebody to a minimum deal. May not be right away. Again, maybe you're going to give a G leaguer an opportunity there, but it's not going to be another rookie. It'd be a G leaguer with, a guy with G League experience. Marcus Morris, possibility to come back to Cleveland. They're going to have to sign. They're going to have to find some front court guys, whether it's Marcus Morris, you're going to have to find a backup center. Obviously, Evan Mobley played that role with the NBA being small ball the way it is today. You could potentially put Evan Mobley there and then George Niang at power forward. I know people, it's like August, they don't want to hear the name of George Niang right now. One of my favorites, but I know how many fans feel about him. Let's see who else we got in there. Dean Wade. Is Dean Wade going to be healthy? He's your power forward. He's a guy who plays all three front court positions. They're going to want Dean Wade to shoot the basketball more this year. Continue to be. He's done a nice job defensively. So yeah, Dean Wade's in there. Look, I know nobody is excited about any of this, but you know what? They won 48 games last year? Am I right about that? I forget. Normally I'm a stat head, but I think they won 48. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Finished fourth in the Eastern Conference. Got to the Eastern Conference semifinals, and were kind of clunky in terms of their cohesion. Darius Garland had a bad year, and I don't know that JB Bickerstaff had a great year. And there were a lot of injuries, and in spite of all that, they were in the mix. Worst case scenario this year, everybody's healthy. Worst case scenario is they're just in the mix again. That's the way I look at it. I think there's a lot to be said for familiarity. So it's not terrible that they're running it back. Other teams got better on paper. Knicks, Sixers, Celtics are still the champs, dominant on their way to the championship last year. Milwaukee Bucks are in there. Indiana Pacers went to the Eastern Conference Finals. So there's a lot to overcome. There's probably somebody else in there that I'm missing. But, I mean, there's a lot of contenders, I should say. Worst case scenario, Cavs are in that mix. Ideally, they don't want to just be in the mix. The next logical step after you go from the first round, the play-in tournament, to the first round, to the second round, which is what they've done in the past 3 years, respectively. Play-in, first round, second round. This year, got to reach the East Finals. That's the next step, right? It's a tough road, but the Cavs are banking on Kenny Atkinson being creative. Darius Garland had a terrible year. Again, they're banking on him not doing that again. They're banking on the guy that they saw as an all-star a couple years ago becoming an all-star again, or at least close to it. Kenny Atkinson came out and told me, start of the year, I look at it like we have 2 all-stars in the backcourt, and that's what we're going to do. So he told me, when he first came to town, season opening press conference. And he's right. They should have 2 all-stars in the backcourt. Darius Garland has that upside, right? We've seen it. He was an all-star. So make it happen again. That's what the coach is for. Bring that out. Evan Mobley. Kenny Atkinson got that job because his plan to get the most out of Evan Mobley was probably better than everybody else's they interviewed. That's it. Bring out the best in Garland and Evan Mobley and make this work. Jared Allen, you don't need to worry about. Donovan Mitchell, you don't need to worry about. Jared Allen, you don't need to worry about because he's a double-double machine who doesn't need the basketball. He and Mobley are the top 2 or 3 best defensive front courts in the NBA. Cavs don't need to worry about defense. They need to be more cohesive offensively. Now, they're going to score a lot of points, but it's more than just scoring points. It's when, how, and maintaining leads, which they had trouble doing when totally healthy. So, or, sometimes you fall in a big hole, which they did quite a bit too. So, the whole really early part of the regular season is going to be about finding that cohesion and finding those. And I think it's beneficial to the Cavs that their first 3 games, Raptors, Pistons, Wizards, all 3 non-playoff teams last year. So I think that helps. Also, I didn't mention this earlier, but they're going to visit JB Bickerstaff in the preseason. They go to Detroit, I believe, for their second preseason game, maybe, or maybe it's the third. Either way, they go to Detroit to face JB in the second preseason game. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on with the Cavs behind the scenes in terms of, they're still talking to teams about potentially adding another shooter, Cam Johnson. A lot of people in the NBA now, other than us, are on vacation. They're just enjoying their time off. They'll get back into it about the middle of September. A lot of conversations are going to strike back up then. Most teams feel as if, other than a maybe minor move here or there, which is where the Cavs are, our training camp roster is mostly set. The Cavs still have some invites to send out to free agents and, G leaguers and that stuff. But for the most part, I don't foresee any big trade down the road. I do think that Okoro will be back. I think Marcus Morris stands a chance to be back. I've said this. I don't think Tristan Thompson is back. Almost guarantee you Damian Jones isn't back. There are some big guys. Let's go over them real quick since I'm only at 24 minutes. And we all know I like to go like 40. Let's look at the list on HoopsWire of available free agents, which we break it down by position and we update it all the time. Probably need some more coffee here, huh? Okay. So The guys I'm looking at here, big guys who are available, the list is very limited when you're talking about centers. Harry Giles, there's Giles the third. I believe he's a former first-round pick of the Kings. He's a good athlete and a decent big man. Old friend Moses Brown is out there. Bismack Biyombo. Again, nobody really exciting. JaVale McGee. Who else do we have at power forward / center? Again, not an exciting list. Do you take a shot at Jay Crowder if he comes for the minimum? I don't know. Marcus Morris, Markieff Morris are on that list. JT Thor, who's only 22 years old. I might give him a look. His agent is, forgive me for not remembering the agent's name, but he's from Orange, Ohio. Aaron something or other. I'm sorry. But that's his agent, JT Thorne, had a nice showing with South Sudan in the Olympics. Only 22 years old. I might give him a training camp invite. 6'10", former first-round pick. Why not? I believe he's a lefty. Why not? Doesn't hurt. Robert Covington, over the hill. Coming from a guy who's also over the hill. But why not? Darius Baisley. Remember him? Former first-round pick, Rich Paul client. 6'10". He skipped college. He skipped playing overseas. He skipped everything. Instead, after his high school year, he sat out, did nothing, and just worked out on his own. Well, that hasn't worked out real well for him. I don't know that Rich Paul gave him that advice, but he is a Rich Paul client, and he's only 24 years old. I think the kid's done okay when he's played with the Thunder and a couple other spots. Utah, I don't know why he can't stick. Darius Baisley, I would probably give him a look. 24 years old. Darius Baisley and JT Thor. Those are two guys the Cavs need to invite to camp. Marcus Morris, why not? Pete Nance. I think Pete, I love Pete. I love the Nance family. I think Pete's a late bloomer. Right now, he's probably best suited for the G League, but who knows what can happen eventually. Kevin Knox. Another guy who's represented by our friend from Orange. I'm going to look up his name now. It's driving me crazy. And I hope he doesn't watch because I talked to him quite a bit. Aaron Turner, yes, from Orange, Ohio. He's the other famous Northeast Ohio NBA agent along with Rich Paul. Aaron Turner also represents Kevin Knox, former lottery pick. 6'8". I think he's done a nice job when he's gotten minutes, but he can't stick anywhere. I think Kevin's problem is he's 6'8" and doesn't hit threes. But look, as a guy coming off your bench as a 10th man, as a backup, why not? So who do I have? Kevin Knox, JT Thor, and Darius Baisley. Those are my three dreams of the Cavs inviting to training camp. Three big guys with upside, I think. Kevin Knox still a young guy, too. He was a number 8 pick, I believe, by the Knicks like 6 years ago. Give him a shot. Why not? With that in mind, I guess I could probably wrap it up here. Thanks so much for joining. I'm very excited, as you could tell, about football season. I'm very excited about my Amigos t-shirt. A lot of people say, hey, there's Sam Amigo. There's mediocre sports writer Sam Amigo. I know him. So I'm kind of celebrating that. I'm mocking myself by getting this t-shirt, really. But I'm going to mock myself every day until it needs to be washed because I'm sure I won't take it off. So it's that kind of exciting information why you join HoopsWire Live on 330 to go. And with that in mind, we're at 30 minutes, and on August 16th, that's probably good enough. Don't you think? I do. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining, and we will talk to you next week. Again, I'll be back. See you then.